This big news, guys. XRP versus Bitcoin. In fact, they're holding it and it's pumping right now. Watch this, watch this, watch this. In actuality, they are holding above this level. Doesn't that sound diabolical? I also checked out the 4, 12 and daily timeframes, and there were a ton of bullish divergences. There were a lot of bullish divergences that we received. All right, pay attention. They possess more than 2260 Satoshis. All okay, XRP will now pump. And I hope it snowballs into something much bigger, don't you think? They're actually keeping it above so far, which is devilish of them, aren't they? And once more, someone should call Ripple if we could only get a little shove. Bitcoin is just chilling, but if XRP versus USD gets a little movement, this chart gets a little push, the higher timeframes will be confirmed correctly, and everything is positive. Therefore, it will have a snowball effect on this chart to eventually have momentum to drive it even further. As of right now, I think everything is bullish. So that's good. Guys, this is a strange signal. Since we really discussed this, I believe a year ago or so, I do want to bring it up. I don't know if you guys recall, but I mentioned that until this game is out, either cryptocurrency or the collapse won't occur. I'm serious, folks. We haven't yet reached that point of collapse, but this is one of those strange indications. All right, the point of collapse is not here. Why? Because Rockstar Games tweeted that the upcoming game Grand Theft Auto 6 is reportedly scheduled to launch on May 26. Guys, you do realize that this is one of the most awaited games in almost forever. It is similar to a really well-liked game that everyone is apparently anticipating. Just pay close attention to the explanation for why equities and cryptocurrencies won't crash before this. I believe that this concept, which I've had for a year or so, is because they want as many people to purchase this game as possible. If the economy were to collapse, do you think people would still go out of their way to purchase a game? Since everyone is eagerly awaiting this game, they probably would, but their earnings would be lower than if they released it prior to the collapse. At that moment, the collapse occurs and everything starts over. I'll just put it out there that this is a strange signal. But honestly, I think the collapse occurs after the game is likely released. Therefore, it occurs after the state. As of right now, my theory is that, I don't know, there are a number of encouraging statistics pouring in. And as we can see, the Senate of North Carolina has passed a bill to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Cindy then stated that President Trump is in favor of her bill to buy 1 million Bitcoin. I'm saying, what is this? By the way, Bitcoin isn't fooling around. If they do end up buying 1 million Bitcoin, it will undoubtedly have to be done over the counter and on the open markets. What will happen to the supply on these exchanges? If this is accurate, we will practically travel to the moon. Thus, let's listen to this and determine the price objective in the event that this materializes. Wow, President Trump agrees with this notion as well. That's fascinating to hear. By using it, the system as a whole becomes more reliable, secure, and able to meet our needs globally. We ought to take the lead globally with this amazing new digital ledger-based asset that will revolutionize the everyday economy and give the average America, indeed the average worker worldwide, control over their own finance. How fantastic it is for industrious people everywhere to have access to this amazing new technology, and for America to be at the forefront of putting this amazing innovation into practice. Yes, but you must move quickly. Isn't that the problem? But pay attention to this. Not too crazy to consider these clinically high price targets. Why? Optimistic forecasts for the price of Bitcoin in 2025 range from $22,000 0 cents to $700 0 cents. Most estimates from big banks, investors, and funds range from $250 0 cents. BlackRock, on the other hand, is expecting or estimating a target of $700K, assuming that 25% of institutional portfolio allocation is to Bitcoin. Hold on a second. What is this? We were aware of it. Bitcoin is most likely going to reach $1 million before collapsing, like $1 million, guys, or $500 0 cents, $300 0 cents, $500 0 cents. It must be one of those more outrageous costs. Correct, and BlackRock is the source of this. I take it that they're referring about 2-5% of institutional allocation. Therefore, it would be simple to purchase Bitcoin if we were to allocate merely 2 to 5% of their portfolio to this endeavor. The price of Bitcoin can reach $700K. Here we have conventional charter price projections of $200K, $225K, and a few more. Guys, the $250K is a popular one, and the $500K is apparently the same here in the $100K zone. Furthermore, the primary argument is that Bitcoin is a macro hedge for institutional flows with a high price because of its cycle everything goes completely haywire. A parabola is currently forming in the center of the fight of halfway. You shouldn't mess this up because of this. According to him, this might be the case if we follow the stock market, which is right. And keep in mind that cryptocurrencies follow the stock market as it rises. For example, XRP follows Bitcoin, which in turn follows the S&P and then the Dow Jones. And this illustrates the S&P 500 from March 1996 to January 2001 and the linkage to the present. Thus, if the stock market is rising, Bitcoin will follow. Guys, there is a 97% correlation. What? Essentially adheres to exactly now the the black line from earlier times are essentially pointing in the direction of the S&P climbing a wall of concern. Yes, and that will most likely be a top of some kind. If it does follow this fractal, guys, before the collapse or something like that happens. Now, that's what it's implying. Is it correct that liquidity has indicated that we will also rise? And Arthur Hayes is the source of this. Take a look at what he says. We could tell that 2026 and 2027 would be completely crazy. Oh my God, everyone is just saying, I'm going to do everything. You're curve controlling everything we do, including tribute buybacks and leverage ratios, because everyone is supporting Trump. It's all on. We will then extrapolate a change which is too significant. After that, we make the correction. Yes, and you guys want to be alive at that moment. Yes, precisely. The only thing we need to do, gentlemen, is to just necessary skills to handle that kind of infrastructure, etc. As a result, the majority of nations that started out are now on par with the US, which owns about 200,000 Bitcoins. We just advise most other nations to employ a multi-sig professional custody solution when their amounts are significantly smaller. Therefore, the money cannot be moved by a single person. They ought to switch to their own core storage solution once they reach a certain size. Thus, this is my description of it. Do not be concerned. When they required custody services, Ripple services came through. So yes, there is a truth. In my view, XRP is looking fantastic at the moment. Take a look at this. Who even named it, man? Holding above our level. We were the only ones that did. We know that's the reason. However, Bitcoin should once more calm down and refrain from dumping if it could merely do so. Simply relax and money will start to pour into XRP. It should provide us the opportunity to advance, don't you think? However, I believe in the video for tomorrow, I want to discuss the general course that cryptocurrencies will take to get to 700K per Bitcoin. We'll see, says BlackRock, but I think things are looking good and they're bullish. Will you soon discover the nature of ICE and what Sophie's CEO is so amazing?